Today we're with Laura Branca, integrator of Beer Home Team, a $612 million producing operations, and we're going deep on systems, processes, and everything that makes a real estate company run from the inside. This is the Agent Academy podcast, Proven Real Estate Systems. Hey, I'm here with Laura Branca, and this is a really special episode because, Laura, you are, of course, my colleague here at Beer Home Team. We're in Beer Home Team headquarters, so it's kind of fun to put this episode together as opposed to so many of the other brilliant ones we have with incredible people from around the country, but we're really inside the operation. And you are at the center and core of what makes this place go, tick, and function on a day-to-day basis. And so I think our audience is really looking forward to understanding that. And by the way, you're a brilliant coach at Agent Academy, helping other people, other integrators, CEOs, and their operations team coexist and just build something awesome. So welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. So
let's jump in, Laura. What is, I think that, if I think about our relationship how long have we been working together?
It is almost 7 years, believe it or not.
7 years. Yeah. Okay. So if I think about those 7 years, we're pretty much the same person, you and I, right?
No. Not even close.
So
not even close.
From your perspective, how do you get it to work? Describe if you would, who you are, who an integrator is, a COO. I think a lot of people in my position are looking for, how do I find the person to really build a company with, and that's going to complement, all those things that I'm missing, and hopefully be that good complement to the things I do well, right? But there's such dramatically different personalities there. I think a lot of the people watching this are struggling with that and a lot of false starts. So what are your observations over the years, and what would be your advice?
Well, I think something I always go back to is when I was describing process before, and you told me that you actually get physically nauseous when the word process comes up. And
it's a disgusting word.
It's a beautiful word, and I think that highlights the difference between the two of us. For me, structure, process drive everything. I like it for consistency. I like it because then you've got everybody doing the same thing to get the same results that are proven over time. And I think it's kind of funny you say, about us being so different, but how we complement each other. Until I really understood what an integrator was, I really didn't understand what it was that I needed. That I needed somebody like you who's got the vision and gives me something to integrate across all the departments of the business. So when I think about what's my main function, if I had to just say what's the one thing, it's really to implement our business plan while creating cohesion across all the major functions of our business.
So when you're working with, I guess you work with both visionaries and integrators from around the country. Would that be correct?
Correct.
So when you're working with them, what do you find are the major themes, the issues that are consistent across organizations, or is that not the case? I'm just trying to figure out and unlock what are those central themes that are holding organizations back, would you say, from your point of view?
Sure, yeah. So I think the constant thing is they're not getting traction. And they're not getting traction because they don't have the systems and the processes and something that they're following, right? Something that they're like, no, this is the way we run our business, and ensuring that everybody is following the way they want to run the business. So for us, we have actually a business model that we follow, EOS, from the book Traction. Whether it's that business model, it needs to be something. You have to have something that provides that structure so that you actually have a plan. So you have traction with meetings, you have processes that are documented. You know what your goals are for the year. What do you want to do in the 90 days that you're living in, right? And I think that's...
90 days you're living in?
Yeah, 90-day world. And that's, I think, the biggest thing is, you have a goal. You set goals for the year, right? Oh, we want to close 1,000 transactions. That's great. And it's really great. And maybe September, I'll start worrying about how are we going to get to 1,000? What did we say we wanted to do? And so living in a 90-day world means that every 90 days is a reset to make sure you're on pace to hit those goals that you want to accomplish during the year. Okay. So having something to follow, some kind of structure along that seems to have been the missing component, at least with the people that I've been working with. Most of them, of course, now do have that structure in place, and they have their goals. They have a 90-day world they live in. They have meeting rhythm. Their processes are all documented. They're very structured.
So it sounds like you're good at taking the complex and simplifying it by just taking what, I don't know, I think when a lot of agents are looking at, gosh, how do I build that? And they start kind of almost getting overwhelmed with all of what they have to do. But if you just focus in on the next 90 days of what needs to be done, I'd say it probably brings relief. Would that be accurate?
Absolutely, yeah.
Clarity.
When I think about the 90 days, it's always, what are the most important things that the business needs to accomplish in the next 90 days? And that's it. And that's our only focus. Don't think beyond it. If it's something that we can't do in 90 days, push it off. It's a later thing. It can go on our issues list. We'll deal with it later. And then I think to really simplify it, it's more thinking along the lines of one of my favorite books, Checklist Manifesto, right? It's, okay, what are the...
Sounds like an amazing book, Checklist Manifesto.
You would love it. I really think you should read it. And every visionary should probably read it. Okay, every integrator is going to read it and love it. I guarantee it.
Probably every visionary should read it.
They probably should, because it really simplifies everything. Everything in life is really a checklist, right? Yeah. Hey, what are the 4 things that we need to do, the 5, 6 things? Mm-hmm. That's what it is. And then what are maybe some of the subcomponents of those things? And if you look at everything we need to do, whether it's what do we want to do these 90 days, or we have 5 things these 90 days, breaking those 5 things down on how are we going to accomplish them, it's really just identifying, okay, well, what are the 3, 4, 5 things we need to do to accomplish that goal? We call them rocks. That's a term from EOS. And again, that's just, a rock is something that is doable in 90 days and something that's critical to the business.
Well, so what do you do with something that is a big enough undertaking or project that it can't be accomplished in 90 days, not fully? So how do you then approach that? Is it you just never do it? Do you?
No, we keep a running list, right? So we have some things that have been on there for a while that we'll revisit every single quarter and every year to say, okay, is it the right time?
From a prioritization standpoint, but what if you say that it's the right time to do, project X, but it's going to take more than 90 days?
Oh, it's great. So you just break it down in components, right? So, okay, so of this project, what's the one thing or 2 or 3 things we should accomplish in the 90 days that we're going into? And we break it down. We have some goals for the year that we're breaking down over each quarter.
Yeah, I love that you went into that right away, because something I talk about a lot is when you look at a big business, when you look at these businesses around the country that I think, they're doing 500 transactions or 1,000 transactions, 2,000 transaction businesses, and most agents will look at that and just get completely overwhelmed. How will I do that? And then they take on like 74 competing priorities, accomplish nothing. And that's called priority confusion. So if you can get disciplined about religiously just, first of all, creating space for you to be able to look at your business. And in fact, we're a few weeks out from going off-site for an entire day.
Yep.
We get away from the office, get into a new environment, into a place where we can really think about the business, and where we can go do that, and then just get really good at chunking it down to what is the most important thing I have to do in these 90 days. Now, for you, it might be something as simple as I don't know, get your pre-listing package put together. It might be, what's the seller intake form, or how do you onboard a buyer? How do you treat a client after the closing? But all these little systems, if you prioritize them in the right order, quarter over quarter, year over year, years at a time, and then you have people like yourself that start joining the organization who also have their priorities quarter over quarter for years at a time, suddenly you're accomplishing unbelievable things, and it has this like slow, but oh my God, like look at what we just built kind of like sudden feeling to it.
And that's a really good point, because that is something that I have found also in the groups that I coach is people want instant results. They want to accomplish everything right away. It's understanding that you just have to focus on what's the most important few things right now. You're not going to accomplish everything. You're not going to get where we are today overnight. It took us 7 years, right? And so it was really just a timeline of always focusing on what does the business need right now, and then just chunking it down. Oh, it's this process. Like you said, it's this piece in our transaction room. It's something not huge, something you can tackle. It's not going to be overwhelming. And it's going to take time.
So guys, I'm going to start jumping into some really kind of detailed process, systems-based, questions. And here's the thing. you get to decide right now as you listen to this, watch this, depending on where you access this podcast episode, is, yep, you're right. We're not going to talk about where to get your next leads and your next this and your next that, because you probably don't need any more of them. We are all, for the most part, overwhelmed with more than what we can handle, but we're missing systems, we're missing processes. So I challenge you to just consider, what's the operations platform that you have in your business? What is the, if you're thinking about bringing on more clients, and if you're thinking about bringing on team members, then what platform are you bringing them to? And I think a lot of people make the mistake of bringing agents. Can you imagine bringing agents to the business if we didn't have our operations team, as an example?
Oh, no.
What are you bringing them to? You're bringing
Right.
them to what? Just some empty revolving door of, hey, we'll give you a better split, we'll give you some leads, and gosh, please stay. I mean, so many teams break down with that. And I guess, let me just ask you this. You've been in operations for your whole career, for the most part.
Right.
Whether it was title or escrow or, REO, whatever it was. Why do you think salespeople miss the value of building the operation side of the business?
Well, I think, again, your reaction to the word process kind of sums it all up. They're about the sale. They don't understand or care to understand everything that goes into the operations side. And sales is always out, sales is sexy, right? Operations, not so much in most people's minds. Now, of course, I think the opposite. Sales is like, little boring. Operations, now that's the sexy stuff. So I think what it really is they don't understand it. They don't want to understand it, which is okay. We want them selling. But I think what's really cool about our team is, because of what we've done with operations, our sales team, they love operations. They get it. They understand the importance of it, especially ones that have been somewhere else and come here and experience what we have built on the operations side. I think they realize that without that, that is the secret sauce.
Like,
right?
if you want the signal of, hey, I think I might be building a business that can survive market changes, et cetera, like all the ups and downs that we have in this business, I think it's when you realize that independent of your splits, independent of how many leads you're going to give somebody, people are coming to your organization because of the structure, because of the environment, because of the people, because of the support, because of more than splits and leads. And that's really the litmus test, I think, to a team that's going to be sustainable and profitable in the long term versus those that are going to continue to break down and have to be rebuilt. Would you agree with that?
100%. And also, when we think about scaling, I think most people think, okay, I bring on agents and then I do the other stuff. Well, I look at it very differently. Right. You start with operations. You've got to have the back end all ready to go to support the sales, because otherwise you're going to have mutiny one way or the other.
Right.
The sales team is going to do their deals, they're going to bring them in, and they're not going to have the support, and they're going to leave. Operations, if they're not staffed correctly and scaling, they're working then, God knows how many hours in this business, they're going to leave. So you've really got to start with operations first.
Yeah, I've always thought that most agents build their team with the same mistake that we think is silly for, say, our buyers. We think our buyers are silly for going and looking for homes before they're pre-approved. Hey, hold on a second, buyer, you should actually be pre-approved and then look at home. Well, agents are, for the most part, or budding team leaders are building their sales teams before building their foundation and their platform.
Right.
It's kind of the same thing. Now, when it comes, let's pivot a little bit, though not far, which is, okay, fine. I'm bought in. I'm going to write and document all my processes. I'm going to get it all in writing. We're going to build our, we call it the BHT way, the Beer Home Team way. So I'm going to do all that, but what is it about, give people advice on how you can write a process the right way versus the wrong way so that people will actually follow it? Because the idea of having processes written down and systems written down isn't to just have them written down. Right. So, I remember when we went through, hey, we've just documented every last bullet point that you're going to have to do. Here's a 43-page book on how to do something quite simple. And, hey, no one's doing it. Why? Versus the way we corrected that.
Yeah, so, when I think of writing process, I think of just the main bullet points that you have to hit. And if you hit those bullet points, you're going to have success. Don't take out the human element, so you don't document everything. They're humans, and let them do it. So writing a process, to me, I find it actually very enjoyable and stimulating. And I think you should try it, because I really think you'd like it. But having said that, it's really, really a simple concept. Again, it's checklist manifestos. What are the 4 to 9 things that need to happen? So I think I always go back to showing agent, right? That was probably the last one I wrote. And it was an agent on our team who actually had a rock to come up with a new showing agent process. And he brought me a 6-page document and he wanted me to go through it with him. And I said, hey, go ahead and put that in the recycle bin and stand over my shoulder and we're going to write this together. And what we ended up with was a 1-page document. Then we took the document to a brand new showing agent on the team and said, hey, if you were given this document, would you know exactly what you need to do to be successful as a showing agent on our team? She's like, oh yeah, this is great. This is easy. So it's really keeping it simple and just hitting all the highlights that need to happen.
So would you say that sometimes people, when they're documenting their processes, they over-detail them?
Absolutely. And I used to be guilty of that too.
Okay.
And like you said, when you find out that no one's following it, you've probably done something wrong. Because a simplified process that actually guarantees you're going to get the results that you want, people are going to follow that.
Okay. So let's talk about the, I think when a lot of people start thinking about, people are going to hire and the roles they need, they will quickly think, should this be overseas VA? Should it be in-house? And I think you've had some evolution to just your thinking around this to some degree, probably not dramatically, but where do you, in observing not just our development, but the development of so many people across the country that you help, we're about to have, 70, 80 something team leaders and operators, COOs, integrators come to our office here over just about 2 weeks from now, and they're going to spend 2 days with us here going through just systems and process, it just for 2 full days of just nailing all the different areas that operate the business. So for the people driving those, where do you stand right now in terms of who needs to be in-house versus how you're using and utilizing VAs?
Yeah, and I have evolved over time with my thought process around VAs because I came from a school where everything's physical. You're always physically in the office. I can sit there and train somebody while sitting next to them. And I still believe that your core people are on your team. There are W-2 employees in your office, without a doubt. Having said that, then there comes a point where, well, to grow the way we want to grow, we're not going to be able to afford it from a P&L perspective because we live in Southern California. You don't get good W-2 employees cheap. You just don't. And we want to be able to compensate our people fairly so that they're really happy with what they do. And so now I believe that while the core team is here, these are the people who interact every day with our clients and with our agents. We can scale with virtual assistants because there's so much that goes on behind the scenes, the DocuSigns, all of the things that get sent around where there's really no client interaction. Right. So we've pivoted, and this year especially, with a goal of we're not bringing on any new W-2 employees. We're growing the team for sure, but we're scaling with VAs. So the VAs are coming on to scale the people already on the team who have been trained, who can handle the listings, who can handle the closings, and now they've got the support of the VA to do all those things that don't require any interaction with the client.
If I look at our org chart, something I notice about it is what you've done is you have people in all their key roles. It seems like you have somebody in-house backing those people up, right? And so there's, call it transaction manager and the junior transaction manager. And so the point I'm making is there seems to be a structure that you've built so that if you lose somebody, there is somebody present that can step into the role. And then behind those people, that's where you're layering in the VAs, mostly Philippines-based. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And as far as it being Philippines-based, is that just the kind of just where our relationships have taken us, or have we explored other locations?
You know, we have not explored other locations only because we were fortunate enough to be introduced to some people that have been able to build their own business with scaling with VAs in the Philippines.
Right.
So it's been great. They do the training for us. They do the hiring for us. So we've never had to explore. I do have some people in the forum that actually will go other places and have had some success, but we have not done that. And when you talk about, kind of backfilling, so that if somebody leaves, we're not like, oh no, what are we going to do? it's not just doing it where we've got on-site support and then you've got your VAs who are very well trained and can step in and probably do more than we're giving them, but we also cross-train. Super important. I think you're really making a mistake if you don't cross-train, and by that I mean we separate listing management from closing management. But our listing managers are cross-trained on closings and vice versa. Okay. Just think that makes them better, well-rounded employees. And then again, to your point, should we lose somebody, should somebody go out on maternity leave, which is about to happen, we're fine.
So before we close out, let's talk about, you've seen different market cycles, and we're in the beginning of change again right now. So what's your message, whether it be, just whatever, how you see this compared to past cycles, where your head's at, what you think will happen, what you think will happen to the agent population, and I don't know, your message to those that want to really thrive in the environment.
Yeah, and not to age myself, but yes, I have been in a lot of different cycles, everything from the .com to 9/11 was a scary time, to the Gulf War, housing market crash, COVID hitting. And I've learned over the years that guess what? It's always going to come back, right? So we just look for, okay, how do we pivot? What do we need to do? So in this current market, it's going to be just like it was when the housing market crashed back on 9/11. I remember agents get out of the business, they go get regular jobs, right? It's the ones who see that, no, it's an opportunity. Fewer transactions, but we can increase our market share by doing more of those transactions that are out there. So when we focus on that, I see this as actually an opportunity to get better at the things we already know we need to do. Agents doing agent activities, getting a little bit maybe on the operations team. We already know that we don't need to scale, but getting them cross-trained on other things. There's so much opportunity that when this shift ends and we are in a more, a better market as far as the volume of transactions, we're going to be well positioned with the staff that we have and our team members doing the activities that they need to do. And then, San Diego, what do we have, 26,000 agents or so? That's going to scale way back, just like it has so many different times. But we're still going to be here, and all the agents on our team who are grinding it every day. And it's been great to watch them pivot with us and do different activities that are already resulting in transactions.
And it is really just so reassuring, I think, certainly for us, and for sure with the people that you work with through Agent Academy coaching, where it's just really great to have someone that has like that perspective, that confidence, that surety. It's tangible, right? I can see it, I can feel it. It's true. You're not putting on a face. It's just really, you're that center, you're that rock. And it's, if and just addressing the audience, if your business is in a place where you're looking for that, who's going to build this operation with me, there's really something to it where, look, we tend to be crazy salespeople. We're all over the place. We're here, we're there, I don't know, we're just wild people. And having that rock in the business that you are for us, and I know you are for your clients that you coach, it's a big deal. And we are going to be really well positioned for it. Last question I think for you is going to be, I walked into the room the other day where Bill Pipes was doing his sales velocity, and our salespeople were tuned into it. They're watching sales velocity, learning scripts, learning sales dialogues, etc. And I walked in and you were sitting there locked in, paying attention to what was going on. Why were you there when you don't have to sell a house today or tomorrow or the next day? I'm just curious to get into your head. What was going on that caused you to tune into something like that?
It's a few things. Number one, every position on the team, whether you're a sales executive or not, we are in sales.
Everyone's in
Period.
sales.
Everyone's in sales.
Including operations
Operations. People. Everyone's in sales. Everyone's in customer
what do you mean
service.
By that?
Well, operations. Do you not think they're selling that future business, repeat business, referral business? 100%. They're selling because they're all about customer service. Everything is selling, right? If you have that perspective, then I think it's going to bode well for you. It's that, and the second thing would be that I feel with my role, I need to know what's going on with sales. What are they learning? How can I help them with what they're learning, whether it's because it's a new system or it's something about our system or it's a change in a process to help facilitate the things that we want to implement from watching somebody great like Bill Pipes.
There you go. So it's just processing even what you just said. You're so right. It's the operations people understanding that they are, first of all, how are they paid? They're paid with commissions.
They're paid
That's
with
the only revenue in our organization
We're all paid.
is commission income.
Everyone is, yeah.
So it's distributed through through salary,
Right.
but it is commission income. That's how it originates. And there's so many opportunities over the course of a transaction or managing a listing to either retain the listing, retain the transaction, not lose it, keep someone calm, or of course get that referral, that repeat business. So that's a really good perspective. That's awesome. That's awesome. This is Laura Branca, Agent Academy podcast, proven real estate systems. And this was a treat. We normally have all these people just kind of talking transactions and sales strategies and so on. But underneath it all, we consistently see those things break down if there isn't an operation underneath it. Now, our Agent Academy coaches that you've seen on the podcast, they have that operation underneath it. So I'm not suggesting that was them. But outside of that, you just have to be wary. Sometimes when people are at an Inman or at a conference A or conference B or Z, and just make sure you understand who's on stage, what's underneath it all. Because great, you sold a gazillion homes, but what's the profitability? What's the operation? How much freedom do you have? How much ability do you have to just add value to your organization beyond just trying to put fires out all day? And it's not happening without the systems, the processes, the platform is what I call it, and that's why we're having the operations playbook as well.
Yeah, and one thing, probably the last thing I would say is, and this is what I tell everybody when I'm recruiting, when I'm going through our Beer Home Team vision meeting with them to let them know, hey, this is who you came to work for. You have to look at this. We're a business that just happens to be in real estate. So you've got to run it like a business. Mm-hmm. Everything from, you're having a budget, a real budget like we have, looking at your P&L every month, being tuned in every day to all of those other things that support sales. If you're not looking at that, you're never going to be able to scale to the level that we want to scale.
Guys, that's Laura Branca. If you're looking for that integrator role in your business, this is an idea of what that feels like, sounds like, what that leadership is, because you are genuinely looking for a leader in your organization, and it's as we surround ourselves with leaders that you'll be able to reach your full capacity. So this is a real treat. If you're looking to at all connect with Laura, send us a message at Agent Academy. We'll make sure that happens. You guys can all have a discovery call. This has been a brilliant episode of the Agent Academy podcast. I'm Dan Beer. We'll see you on the next one.